The White House is taking action to alleviate the supply chain backlog in the U.S. Congested ports and higher shipping costs have threatened to derail our nation's economic recovery. They could also threaten the holidays. CBS News senior White House correspondent Keefe has more on what's being done to help.
This is a big first step in speeding up the movement of materials and goods through our supply chain.
The Port of Los Angeles, the nation's largest, will now operate around the clock, along with the nearby Port of Long Beach. Together, they handle about 40% of the country's container traffic, carrying laptops, TVs, and toys, and holiday gifts, soon to be in higher demand.
The commitments being made today are a sign of major progress in moving goods from manufacturers to a store or to your front door.
CEOs from top retail and delivery companies who met with the president today pledged to work more off-peak hours to clear the cargo. Can this administration guarantee that holiday packages will arrive on time?
We are not the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx. We cannot guarantee. What we can do is use every lever at the federal government disposal to reduce delays.
The supply chain headaches have sparked product shortages, longer delivery times, and inflation, with price increases up 5% from last year, impacting shoes, appliances, and groceries. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Nora it won't end soon.
But I don't mean to suggest that these pressures will disappear in the next month or two.
All of these factors pushing consumer confidence down and increasing pressure on the president.
As a consumer, it's going to make you feel rotten. And when you feel rotten as a consumer, you take it out on whoever's in office. And that is what this administration is going to have to deal with.
Ed Keefe joins me now from the White House. Hey there, Ed. So how much difference does the president actually believe that these private retailers can make in the supply chain bottleneck?
Well, the White House points out that they are essentially responsible for a plurality of the shipping containers that come into the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and that by just sort of market demand or trends of the market, if this group of retailers, Walmart, Home Depot, Target, Samsung, UPS, FedEx, start putting more manpower behind this backlog and trying to address it, that it's going to inevitably force everybody else to come along, or most of them, both either for competitive reasons or just because they're going to understand that the marketplace is now expecting everyone else to do the same. The fact that the port is open, too, and all of them essentially committing to this temporarily, is a sign that they now understand out there in the West they've got to get this stuff moving. There have been several reports in the last few days. We've done them here at CBS. The newspapers have done them as well about, small mom-and-pop toy stores across the country concerned that there won't be Christmas presents there on the shelves, or distributors even over in Asia saying, if you guys can't get these things moving, we're going to stop producing the toys that you're going to be inevitably ordering from us in just a few weeks as the holiday demand picks up. So the White House, which they point out has been working on this since February, establishing a group of people to get together to start looking at this, took some bigger steps over the summer, and now today's dramatic announcement that really is designed to address a big concern for consumers of all sorts across the country, now believes that this will help juice the backlog, get it moving again, and hopefully avoid big delays. But as you saw in our report, and as you saw throughout the White House daily briefing today, this White House not guaranteeing that this will solve the problem, nor should they have to. We should point that out. It is not the White House's responsibility to ensure everybody a good Christmas, but they can use the power of the presidency and the federal government to compel the private sector and labor unions to work together and sort out a unique pandemic-era problem that has big effects right now on the economy.
Certainly affects the economy. But another component of that, Ed, that I want to ask you about is that turnover in the trucking industry during the pandemic.
Yeah.
What's the Transportation Department doing to address that particular piece of the puzzle?
Another good example of where the government can only do so much because it doesn't run the private sector. But in this case, they're trying to work with state departments of motor vehicles to accelerate or potentially overhaul the process of applying for and getting a commercial trucking license for those who may be trying to do so and are getting stuck in a backlog. There's also talk of possibly modifying the various federal rules in place for how long commercial truck drivers can be out on the road. Remember, in recent years, there have been concerns about safety, drivers nodding off, or perhaps not being as sharp as they should be when they're hauling big cargo across the nation's highways. They're looking at possibly, at least temporarily, changing those rules to allow drivers to either be on the road a little longer or perhaps at different hours of the day to, again, address the backlog, get goods moving, and to the stores and to the front stoops of Americans all over the country.
Is there a little bit, though, of strange bedfellows? Because President Biden, as you reported, was praising Walmart for going 24/7 to help alleviate the bottleneck. But Democrats have long criticized the nation's largest retailer for poor wages and other labor issues. You actually brought this up to White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki during Wednesday's briefing. Tell our audience a bit more about that conversation.
Well, she essentially said, look, he's on the record as well, along with other Democratic presidential candidates, and having been quite critical of Walmart, the fact that it doesn't necessarily have a federal minimum or a minimum wage standard on par with what the president hopes to one day implement at the federal level, $15 an hour. Walmart does pay certain individuals as much as $19, perhaps more an hour, but on the low end about $12, not where Democrats would like to see minimum wage hit. And we asked, did you get any kind of assurances from Walmart that these changes you're going to make won't adversely affect workers who obviously get crunched a lot more around the holidays? Psaki didn't have an answer for that, essentially saying that the more immediate concern and the focus of these conversations and the announcements made today are designed to address the backlog, and that, you know, this administration, Democrats, will continue fighting for workplace changes separate or in tandem with this, in the sense that they'll keep fighting for them, even as Walmart is making these changes. And we should point out, big private retailers like Walmart, others, McDonald's, have made pledges to increase hourly wages, and frankly, they have to right now, given that they're all struggling to retain workers, find new workers, who increasingly are looking for better paying employment.
We're seeing all those help wanted signs across the country. And before we let you go, there are new developments in former President Trump's bid to assert executive privilege over documents related to January 6th. Can you tell us what's the latest on this?
That's right. The White House General Counsel a little while ago sent a letter to the National Archives saying, look, even though former President Trump has exerted executive privilege over another collection of documents that the January 6th Commission would like, you got to cough them up. The president instructs you, the letter writes, to provide the pages identified as privileged by the former president to that House committee. In light of the urgency of the Select Committee's need for the information, the president further instructs you to do it, to provide those pages 30 days after your notification to the former president, absent any intervening court order. In other words, they got to get those documents to the committee before Thanksgiving, so long as a federal court doesn't step in and start a legal fight over the definition, the scope, the timetable for when a president can exert executive privilege and try to keep communication between him and others private.
All right, Ed, thank you so much.
Take care.